Welcome to the Refrigeration Mentor podcast. So happy you're here. Thank you so much for listening and taking the time to join us and hopefully take a little bit away technical, personal, because what we do here at Refrigeration Mentor is to really help you uplift your career, help you get to that next level, whatever that is. If it's a position, is it mentorship, is it personal development, just being better tomorrow than today. And taking that next step. And once again, I got my good friend Andrew Freeburg here with Morning Coffees with Andrew. We're going to dive into some technical topics and personal development topics, depending on what we get through today. Today, we're going to be talking about some of his calls. Comm lost one recently, which is really, really important. This happens all the time with lots of different controls. We're going to dive into that. Then we're going to get into a little bit of mentorship, why is important to us, how to do it if you're trying to do that with your company and with older people or younger people. It doesn't really matter. You can mentor older people even if you're younger, and you can mentor younger people even if you're older. So we're going to get into that a little bit. Andrew, how's your coffee this morning, brother?
Oh, it's nice and hot, just the way I like it, and black. So yeah, it's good. Good stuff.
Same here. So I've done, when I first started Refrigeration Mentor, I started morning coffees with Trevor. I did it for, I think it was 30 or 40 days straight. Every morning, 6 a.m., just like what time it is there for you. It's 9 where I'm at. But I did it for 30 or 40 days straight. And it gave me the confidence to do more podcasts. You know what I mean? It's like just jumping up there, jumping on it, asking how to, asking myself, well, like, what should I talk about? Like, what should I share? How do I help others? That's the big thing. You know what I mean? It's like, how do I help others? And really, that really started to set the podcast apart for me because it's getting out of my comfort zone, And I'd love to hear your thoughts when you're going to take on a new challenge, right? Getting outside your comfort zone, because that's a big thing in our industry, getting outside our comfort zone, right? And how do you take on a challenge like that? Because I planned this, you know what I mean? When I did that 30-day morning coffees with Trevor, I planned it. It took me a while, and it took me a while just to execute it because I'm like, oh, should I do it? When should I do it? It's a big commitment because I work out in the morning. So that was meaning I had to get up at 5 or quarter to 5, to get my workout in before I did the morning coffee. What are some of the things that you do to really overcome the getting outside your comfort zone?
Man, I love that question, Trevor. So for me, my biggest thing was actually just understanding what that really means, being uncomfortable in your growth or your development of whatever who you are. It took me, I mean, I didn't wake up knowing, everything, but uh, being outside your comfort zone is really going to show you how much you have grown, how much you're willing to absorb, how much better you can be. So I think it's huge. I really think it's huge. It's hard to say. You can plan for it, but there's always going to be different obstacles that you haven't seen or you haven't come across. So preparation is great. Don't get me wrong. If you can do it, just like you did, but it's just taking that leap and trusting in your abilities and willing to put the work in. That's how you're gonna grow in
Yeah.
any part of whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah. And
Um,
I really believe that as well, because it's the first step is like really getting outside our head, because we're always like, we're as tech, for me anyway, I'm just in my head like, why am I doing this? Should I be doing this? How much should I be doing this? And then it's just overcoming myself a lot of the times, right? Because now, like, one of my sayings is me against me. What's up, Eric? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Yeah, my good friend Erik Holland back for a chat. So, Erik, we're just talking about getting outside our comfort zone and trying to, tackle problems and strategies around that to really to develop ourselves. And like I was telling Andrew, is getting for me, it's me against me now. It used to be like I'd be challenged, like if I was playing sports, it'd be like, okay, well, that guy's really good at running or skating or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I'm trying to catch up. Now it's like, how do I be better? Like, I see what I do now. I see the time I put in, the effort I put in. how do I get better? So now for me, it's efficiency. Like time really matters to me. I'm in my mid 40s now, and I know that I only have so much time left. Like, how do I fit it all in? And you can't fit everything in, and that's it. And so, really working on myself to challenge myself to get outside my comfort zone. You do that?
I think you can't be an expert in everything, but you could be really good at a lot of things, but not an expert in everything. And then you're an expert in a number of fields. But what I do is I always spar with my colleagues.
Okay.
So
good.
Yeah. So we always we yeah, as you know, I'm working for Advancer in the aftermarket service, and we are a bunch of guys here, and everybody is seeing new stuff all the time, and we share all that information.
Yeah.
So we don't have it like regular meetings where we share about all the stuff, but there's just whenever we talk, I say, oh, has anybody encountered this situation here? Is somebody seen this valve fail in this way before, or something like that? And people come up with solutions. And say, oh yeah, I saw that in this rack here last year or something, and I did this to solve the problem. And then you learn from each other. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What about you, Andrew? How do you tackle it? Did you do that too? Do you work with your colleagues and challenge each other, or do you work on challenging yourself? Because I know I challenge you lots of times, so that which is good, pushing you, which is great.
Yeah, no, I put myself in those situations. I kind of ask for them. I tell dispatch, I tell the boss, I tell whoever, I want the toughest calls, the ones that nobody can figure out. I want those. So I put myself out there to get those tough calls, and that's pushing yourself to learn and getting better. And what Erik just said about communication, getting your group together. Yeah, I mean, once I moved down from Washington down here, and I started a group chat, and then I post, I mean, a lot of things in there as far as learning opportunities for the other technicians in my group. So I'm constantly, I guess, pushing too, just because I know it's going to help. That's what it really comes down to. I know it's going to help people, so that's why I do it.
Yeah, and I really like that because I know we've been talking for years, and if you don't ask, no one's going to know what you need or want. So if you don't go to your service manager, your boss, and you're asking for stuff, they might say no lots of times. You know what I mean? But like, for example, Andrew wanted to get on the EMS team. He wants to work on more controls. He wants to learn more controls because as a service technician, we see controls a little bit. We see them maybe every day when in the supermarket, but it's not like you're working on them, like changing controllers, programming controllers from scratch, and it didn't happen overnight. Like he just worked at it. He asked when there's a availability, how can I get in there? What do I need to do? What do I need to learn? And then was doing that, going to trainings. Like I remember about 6 months ago, it's like, Trevor, there's a Corel training in town and I'm going for it. And I told everybody on the team and it's one person showed up, I think, with you. You know what I mean? And it was an apprentice that was working with you that day. And it's like, yeah, maybe I should go check it out. But this is an opportunity where you can learn and grow and get outside. Even if you don't work on that equipment yet, at some point you may see it. And they're like, well, I don't see it, I'm going to forget it. Well, maybe you will, but now you get an opportunity. Well, I know the valve is red. You know what I mean? I know the name brand, just even knowing the name brand, because I do trainings now and ask, well, what's the brand of the rack? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, so let's go back and like understanding, is it Hussman? Is it Hill? Is it Advancer? Is it Teco? Is it whoever it is? You know what I mean? You got to understand who's the equipment that you're even working on, because if you don't know that, you're not going to know how that equipment even works. Even if you understand the components, you got to know how that manufacturer's trying to build the equipment. And where you put yourself out there that I really want to learn controls, and how do I do it? I just start to ask. You know what I mean? Ask the questions to get started. And then once again, how many no's did you get, Andrew? Probably got some no's right off the bat. Long time.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's no, we don't have enough, or no, we can't do that training right now. We're too busy, or yeah, I mean, it's just. But you know what? When that opportunity did come, guess who was on the list? Me.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Maybe I was ready to go at that point too, because I'm asking for it. But a month or two down the road, when things start to slow down or whatever, there's another opportunity. I was on that list. Just like tackling all the CO2 stuff that I've done. That's putting myself out there once again, saying like, I want to do CO2. If it was, to be honest, if it was just what I could only do, I would definitely do CO2. But that's just not how service works.
Yeah. And at this point, because there's not as many, there's thousands of systems in North America, but there's not a lot versus what's out there, right? Tens of thousands of other HFC.
Oh yeah.
But over time, now you're building your skills now for the future, right? CO2, A2L, R290, all these refrigerants that are coming at this point, you're preparing yourself. Where if you're just doing the same thing day in, day out, which is you got to do that stuff. But it's learning outside, that getting outside your comfort zone. So to spend that 20 minutes. Today I bought 3 books at the gym. So I got to the gym 5:30 this morning, and I was listening to a podcast because I do this every day. It's on AI, understanding how to build AI company, and the things to look for. But in there, this business owner studies, I think it was called Box. They do a cloud computing company. He was talking to a bunch of, it was during Y Connect, talking to a bunch of people that just finished school. And he listed 3 books off. I paused it. I stopped working out and he listed 3 books. These are 3 books that are going to change the way you think about strategy, marketing, because of the things that I'm in. And I actually purchased the book right the 3 of them. I didn't listen to them yet, but this here is like, that's putting me, I would have never done that 3 or 4 years ago. You know what I mean? Now this is what I'm doing now because I know that is outside my comfort zone. Like even reading and listening, it's hard for me to do that stuff, but I do it because I know it's going to better myself. Kind of like you do with training. You know what I mean? Like you're going on the 4th. You're going to meet me in Concord, and you're going to the NSARC event. We talked at an event, a free event, natural refrigerant event, just talking about training. And you're willing to take time off work if you have to. If you can get paid for it, great. If the company's willing to pay for it, but you're willing to take PTO, personal time off, to actually go and learn, because that knowledge is with you, Andrew. You know what I mean? It stays with you.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how many. I mean, I've already been to a couple of these events, and I've taken time off just to go and do it. I think training in the field that you're in is so important. The training that they provide over there is top notch. I mean, you get really reputable individuals out in the field that have been working on their piece of equipment come and teach us technicians on natural refrigerants. And I mean, why not? That's the better question. Why not? Right. So yeah, no, I go no matter what. I'm going, even if it is taking personal time. And just to piggyback, I guess, on that is that I've done I've as many training as I can. I jump in, and I still get calls from Washington asking about some CO2 stuff. And that's cool, helping the guys up there that I don't even see anymore. I just think that's so cool that I'm able to help them out.
Yeah. So Erik, I'll ask you too, because Erik, you work for manufacturers and you guys do tons of training. You actually do the trainings yourself. What type of training and investing in yourself that you do now at your level? You know what I mean? Because you're out in it training the technicians, the startups, the commissioning, and then your company trains you, and you train your company, people in your company, and you guys, the team you work with, you say you guys train each other, talking about problems. But what do you do to invest in yourself at your level?
Well, yeah, of course, we do a lot of internal training in the company, and we work closely together with all the control manufacturers, being Danfoss, being Carell, being Wurm from Germany, which are the major brands in Europe. Of course, we work really close together with them. We work really close together with our R&D department. Because they are creating the new functions for our systems. And of course, we need to know how that is working to be able to support the technicians in the field. So there's triangle here, because we also get information back from the field and push it back up to the R&D. So it's a triangle of knowledge, more or less. So, and all that combined is giving us a really good base for developing our skills in this use. Of course, it's where at the point where we are at the moment, we are we are on the pointy end of the CO2 business, if I may say so. And of course, we are working really close with the manufacturers, and they are learning from us. We are learning from them, and we're always pushing the limits. So it's really hard for us to really just to go to a class somewhere and learn about this stuff. We are more or less laying the tracks as we drive.
Yeah.
So
this is what I tell technicians too, which is so important. Like, you might be a technician in the field, but if you can get on with, I was talking with a tech, he was a technician for up to about a year ago, and just got on with a manufacturer do startup, Dane Castle. He's from New Zealand. He worked here in Ontario. Now he works with VAPCO LMP. But in this 1 year, like, and we just had a quick chat. He was like, wow, man, I used to train some of the guys, and like I knew CO2 because I've been doing it for a long time, even from New Zealand. But he was like, in the last year, I learned so much. And working for a manufacturer is way different than working most of the time than working as a technician or even startup, because this is where, like Erik just said, you're learning from the R&D guys. So the R&D guys are smashing stuff, breaking stuff, testing stuff. And they're like, this is what's working right now. And it seems to be working. We need to get it in the field for a prototype, so you get the prototype out there, and then you get out there as that field support person. And then you start to see what's actually happening in the field, because in the lab, it doesn't always translate the same into the field. Any comments on that, Erik?
So you're absolutely right, because you can do all the thinking you like, you can do all the lab tests you like. As soon as you meet the real life, then everything just changes, because there will always be a scenario you haven't thought about. There's always be some condition and some combination of equipment you haven't thought about, and it was okay. It works kind of. But what are the issues? What can we learn from this, and what can we bring back, and what should we never do again, and what should we improve on? So it's always this lesson learned, lesson identified kind of way to work. So you always got to identify what are the issues, and say, okay, that is good, that is not good. And learn from whatever you see, so you can bring that back to your R&D and bring it back to your other technician and say, okay, it works if we do this, but if we go over here, it doesn't. So should we go over here, or should we just stay over the other side? Right.
Yeah. And if you're a technician out there and you're looking to transition from a technician in the field to a manufacturer, reach out to me. Because all around the world, manufacturers are looking for technicians, people have the skills that want to level up. Do you get paid less when you go to a manufacturer? Lots of times you do. Do you get paid the same? Sometimes you do. You know what I mean? But if you're ready to take that transition, because I did it when I moved to Copeland, I took almost a 50% pay cut to go and change what I lifestyle changed, the way I work changed, the way I learned changed. I didn't know how to write an email, back in 2013. I learned that over the years, how to make a presentation, how to go out and support a technician in the field. Because the way I support it is different than the way the manufacturers support it, because we got to look at it at a different approach, not just that one single problem, but the whole picture of the problem that may be causing that issue. So I think that's very important. So if you're looking for those transitions, I have manufacturers reach out to me weekly saying, Trevor, do you know some refrigeration people in these parts of the world that's willing to take on a challenge, as well as contractors? If you're looking for a contractor as well, I have so many contractors say, Trevor, you're training all these guys. Do you have anybody that have opportunities? So reach out to me. Get into the Refrigeration Mentor community. If this things are your thing, it's refrigerationmentor.com/hub. Check it out there, because Andrew is an ambassador in there. Erik's in there. You know what I mean? And this is how we learn and grow. And I think it's always good, because I learned so much from the manufacturer side. Some people are like, oh, manufacture this, manufacture that, but you can learn so much, especially when you're on the cutting edge of stuff. And all these control manufacturers, like compressor manufacturers, anything to do with refrigeration, they're trying to push the limits to that efficiency, the new type of product, the new type of strategy. which is really good because I work with a lot of the manufacturers too. And I see each of them. They're like, okay, how do we make this a little bit better? How do we compete here? And it's cool. It's cool to see because we're the whole community of refrigeration, even though they're competing against each other, we're making the industry better, which is great, which I love seeing. Andrew, yesterday we had a conversation. You were out at a service call. Let's dive into some comm loss issues. And I'm going to pull up, for those that listen on the podcast, you're going to have to visualize this, but you got a service call out to a store. The store had E3 on it, and they had a comm loss issue. You want to walk us through this service scenario, really kind of the way you approached it, because I think this is really important to talk about is lessons from the field.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange because this week I've actually had 2 comm losses, totally different stores, but still, I mean, same device, right? Network device offline. So that just says that there's no communication from whatever that controller is. In this case, it's an E3 to the controller. Could be a case controller. In this case, it's a hot gas bypass controller, but it is basically a case controller, right? So that just tells me it's either doesn't have power or something. Something's going on where it's just not reading it. It was reading it at one point. So what changed? And that's where, I mean, that's basically our jobs, is to go out there and figure out what changed because it was working. So I just get there, pull up the alarm on this case, the E3, and I notice that it says E3 unit RCU4. So I know there's something to do with rooftop unit 4. Just that's how I figured that one out. Yep, right there. So first thing I do is get up on the roof and check that out. This place has 4 individual condensing units up on the roof, and it's pretty easy. It's 1 through 4. So go to number 4, pull the panel, or open up the door so I could look in, and then I go right to that controller. First thing I do always is when there's an offline, I just make sure it has power. That's the very first thing I do, because it could be the transformer that went bad, right? So, but if it has power, it should be working. That's how that works. So first thing I did was check power. I did have power to it, so I knew that wasn't the issue. So now I go directly to the comms. What I did was I took my meter, went right to the comm, and I had 0 volts. So I was like, well, that's not right. I should have anywhere between like 2.5 to 3.5 volts right there. And I didn't have that. So I pulled it off, and then I tested it again. Then I had it. I had my volts, plugged it back in. I lost it. So just knowing that. So yeah, I mean, so something internally in that controller is what's causing the comm loss issues. I've had this happen before, and the first time that I came across it, it was a valuable lesson. Knowing what is good helps you so much to diagnose when something's not working. So taking the time and investing in whatever controller or whatever you're working on, that knowing that it's working correctly, and then when you do have that problem, you come back and check it. So anyways, I guess what I'm saying is that was a huge valuable lesson that I learned back then.
Yeah, and you're getting really good at making videos. You know what I mean? So you want to share with other technicians. There's an apprentice here with you today on this, and he's like, okay, let's make this video so you can rewatch it. We can show other people. I'm gonna so if you're on the podcast, get to the YouTube channel, check it out, or get into the community, the Refrigeration Mentor community, because the video's up there. But we're gonna just play it right now, kind of his steps to do it. So
okay, guys, today what we have is a comm loss issue on one of my hot gas bypass controllers. So what I did was I came up here, I pulled connections off right here. And what we need to do is make sure we got the correct voltage to it. So what we're going to do is connect to the white and then to ground. Okay, and we should have 3 to 4 volts. Okay, so that's good. Now, when I take this and plug it into the control, okay, and then I'm going to test the same exact port. So I'm going to go white to the ground. Now check out my volts. See that? That's my problem. So again, I'm going to take it out so you guys can see. All it is communication. We're going to go up to white, to ground, and then to there, 4 volts. Now we're going to go to another communication so you can see. So this here is for my compressor. Okay. So again, white to ground. Now look at my volts. 4. So something internally is messed up in here, causing this to not communicate back to the E3. So we just need to change this guy out and we'll be good to go.
So it's important to check this stuff. And if you don't know how to check it, that's a stepping. What was some of your learning lessons? Because I know after we chat, Andrew, it's like, oh, I wish I would have did this in the video. I wish I would have did that. After watching it again, is some of this? And I recommend any of you out there to record some of your service calls so you can learn from it, because we forget stuff. We do so many things, but this is how you train your teams. Easy way to internally help train your teams is doing little videos like this all the time. And after a while, it builds up, because I work with contractors, and that's what we do in our supermarket programs or our CO2 programs. I get them out to go out and record the videos. And this is what Andrew does to teach himself, to teach other people. But after watching the video, what are some of the things that you would have liked to say or do? Anything different? Or
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing was I wish I had my better meter. Because that one, I like that meter. It does a pretty good job of what I need for the most part. But when we're talking about communications, it's just not dialed in the greatest.
Oh, exactly. Like the double points. It doesn't, fine tune it.
Yeah, so I mean, that would be the biggest thing that pops in my mind right away. I didn't even think about it, I'm just hurry up trying to figure out what the problem is, and then figure it out. Okay. And I was like, oh, let's do a video. I think this will be great. This could help other technicians out. So that's why I ended up doing it. And then looking back, you could always critique yourself, when you're out there.
This is great, man. Like this is it. This is starting. And I did the same thing when I started Refrigeration, man. Even before that, like back 2019, when I started making videos, it was like, man, I would do a video and I'm like, I sound terrible. I look terrible, all this stuff. But over time, it just gets better and better, and you get used to it now. Like I used to listen to my voice recorded, and I'm just like, oh my God, is that even me? Like, who's that person? That sounds so weird. But you just get used to it. But you always get a little bit better. Even now I make videos and I'm like, oh man, it's not exactly what I need, but I know that the knowledge behind it is the important part. You know what I mean? I want to get that. Erik, you dealt years and years with comm loss issues. What are some of the biggest comm loss issues that you see that maybe startup technicians may miss, because you've done this for decades now? You know what I mean? For a long time working on controls.
Yeah, at startups, first time connecting everything, wiring is always an issue, because it's so easy to swap those two wires. And even in some systems where you have multiple communication loops, it's also really easy to mix up the two loops and even short circuit the loops, so nothing will communicate correctly in the beginning. So make sure you have your loops under control, you have your polarity under control, and that's basically the biggest issue. Then, depending on the network type you're using, if you're using Modbus on long distance, you could need a termination resistor at the end, 120 ohm usually. If you don't use that termination, you can also lose packages. It may work, and sometimes it doesn't. So if you don't terminate it, then you could lose some packages. So make sure it's terminated according to specifications. and make sure they are polarized, plus and minus is correct, or A or B or whatever it's called in that network type. After that, when everything of the hardware is up, the wiring is okay, then it's usually a question of addressing, getting double addressing on your equipment. So you have 2 or 3 controllers with the same address number. Usually from factory, all the controllers come with the same address 1 or address 10 or something. So you need to change those manually one by one, disconnected from the network, because it's really nice. You can change it from the network controller, say, oh, I want to change the address on this controller here to 5 instead of 2. That's great. But if you got 3 controllers that is called 2, you risk changing all those 3 addresses at the same time. So disconnect the unit you want to configure it locally, verify it it's okay, and connect it back on the network, and then you should be golden.
Yeah, I think a big thing too, and me and Andrew had to talk about this, but when I did a lot of DXL training and tons of that, and then communicating to the E2, then the E3 wasn't even out. It was like, is reverse polarity, you know what I mean? And then some are plus goes plus to plus, but some, like the DXL, is minus to plus. So what you said there, polarity is so important, because you might have some that go to a plus, and then you have another one that goes to a minus. Make sure that when you're looking at those different loops, that they're set up properly. But another thing that me and Andrew talked about yesterday about that control, that was an XM678, I believe. I've done tons and tons of training on that.
Yeah.
That controller you're going to get is going to be address 1, just like Erik said, that new controller. So you can't just, a lot of people think, oh, just put it in, it's programmed. It doesn't come programmed from the manufacturer. You got to address it first. And most manufacturers are like that. You got to address it at least first, and then you can put it in and then push the information out to it. So you may need to get a certain, you might have to hook your computer up to it. It might have a little, like DXL calls them hotkeys, but there's like little USB sticks that you can put in to program them, or you get a handheld, like the proper keyboard, to plug it into them to set that address up first. Because I think that's really important, because a lot of technicians don't know that. I've seen it time and time again where they'll just plug it in, put it in, the power's to it, but there's no lights on it or anything, so you can't tell if it's controlling right or wrong, and they walk away. And don't do that, guys. Don't do that.
No, and especially with the setup of the whole controller, it could be very important for the system that you got the correct settings for that application, especially when we're talking CO2, because it is working quite differently from the F-gases. So a nice trick is, if possible, make a backup of the old controller before you change it. So, but of course, if it's dead, the blue smoke came out, then you maybe have another similar controller on the network. Make a copy of that guy, download that to the new controller, change the address, check the variables, see if that's okay. So you don't have to do all the copying of by hand with all the variables again. It's just have a backup of your system. And then it should be really easy. And some of the newer controllers and some of the newest Danfoss case controllers, CCs, 55As, you can Bluetooth access to them from your phone, from a phone app. Simply copy the software from one controller and download it to the next controller. Super easy.
Yeah, and you just got to make sure you're networked to the right one when you're doing it, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Luckily, you can only connect to one at a time, and there will be an indication on the display, so you're fairly sure you've got the right one. And then the great tip: before you leave the site, make a complete system backup. So for more reasons, for first reason, then you got to back up if something breaks down again, and you can easily make that system go up, come back online again. But also more like a liability for yourself, because now you can prove how the system looked when you left it.
Yeah.
So if somebody else has been working with it and now coming back and the customer is complaining, as oh, you messed up my system or something. No, somebody changed the values because I got the original values here.
Yeah. One of the issues, though, I'm seeing even when I talked with Andrew, a lot of times now you can't take the backup. Like they're not giving technicians access to be able to pull back up. So this is where you got to build a relationship, or you get them to do the backup. Like you talk to the store manager and say, if you got an EMS or if you got someone controlling these stores, you need to do a backup now and date it properly. So we have that as proof of the backup if you can't do, because a lot of the technicians, they say, well, I can't do the backup. Well, somebody can do the backup. Maybe it's someone from the store, maybe it's a third party, but you say, I'm here on this date and we need to do a backup. I just did some changes. I want to make sure that if anything gets changed here, that we know about it. And so I think that's very important. So there's ways around it, because lots of people say, well, I don't have the access. Well, call them and say, listen, I need access, or somebody needs to do a backup. So we have that. So if anything does go wrong, we can always go back to the latest version. Another thing about the case controllers is that I have been seeing more and more of is different versions. So all of a sudden you get version 2.3, and then the new controllers a 3.1. You're not just you might have to program that from scratch. You know what I mean? So you just got to remember that might have to go through it. And a lot of people miss that. Oh, it looks the same. Everything looks the same, but a little tiny dot in the top corner says 2.3. Or you got to go into the parameter where it says revision or whatever, and it'll say the number there. So just be aware of that stuff, because you're probably not working on this all the time, right?
Yeah, you could risk not even be able to access the new controller with your laptop, because the software you got on your laptop is not updated to the new version of the controller. So you need to have that updated too. So yeah, that's just mending your tools.
Yeah, exactly. Andrew, what strategy are you going to take? You ordered up the parts already for this, and we talked about a few. What strategy are you going to do to get this controller in?
Yeah, so I already got that, like you said, ordered. We verified that I have the connection piece. So really, I'm just gonna the unit still works. It's just the communication piece that doesn't. So I'm gonna pull the old programming off that controller. If that one didn't work, luckily, like I said, I have 4 that are exactly the same up there. So I would just take it off of one of the other 3. And then just go ahead, program it, address it, and then throw it back online. But verify that it's working. I think that's huge, that all of us that are out here doing service is take the 5 minutes to verify things are working right after we make an adjustment or change. But I do want to piggyback on a couple things that was mentioned earlier today. As far as wiring and communication, making sure the polarities are right. So I actually did a Danfoss change. I had a 355 and I changed it to the 880. And without even looking, I'm just plugging and playing and entering. And then I was not communicating with any of my nodes. I'm like, what in the world is going on? And just what Erik said, I just wires right next together. I just had to swap them over. Then all of a sudden the communication comes on. So yes, 100%. You got to pay attention to that, or be aware of it, I should say. And another thing about communications, just either EMS stuff, is attention to detail. I mean, the littlest thing could be the biggest thing. What I've been noticing too. And just like you guys said about the different variants of updated case controllers, just that little bit, that could be your whole problem there.
Yeah, totally. So that's, these are lessons from the field, which is really important. And go and try this. So if you're working on a system that has communication, this is how you learn, is actually using your tools. Like I tell people, all the technicians that come into our CO2 programs or our supermarket program, like, we're learning here online like this. I'm showing you videos, I'm showing you wiring diagrams, we're talking about controls, we're going into programs and playing around. But until you go out in the field and actually use your meter, use your tools, that's where the learning happens. You can come and learn lots at Refrigeration Mentor, but getting out there and do those field assignments. So just like Andrew said and showed on the video, so if you're watching this or even listening, take your meter and go check the communications and see what voltage you're getting. Over time, you'll start to recognize these numbers. Oh, I know this is good for this controller or this brand. You know what I mean? And then as you go, that's going to get into your memory bank, and that's actually putting your reps in. This is so important, is putting your reps in, and that's how you get better. That's how you learn. It takes 7 to 11 times to really grasp someone. Then probably sometimes more. But when you start to have that starting point of just really taking into the field, the things you're listening to and working on is so, so important. Before we finish off here, because this has been a great conversation, I want to really talk about the power of mentorship. I think this is so important. This is really one of the things that Refrigeration Mentor is all about, is really helping shape each other's careers. Like even myself, like I'm learning so much when I'm in a CO2 training and I got a bunch of people from all around the world. I'm learning so much from them. I have manufacturers, I have technicians, I have startup people, lots of different people coming into the programs, but I'm learning a lot from them. And I'm like a mentor to them, but also a mentee a lot of the times. I'm coaching them, but sometimes they're coaching me as well. And I'm learning from them. I was in a training on Monday night, and one of my friends, he took 3 programs the last 3 months. His name's Lewis from New Zealand. And so it's 10 o'clock here at night for me doing this training, or at 9:30. And we were talking about just a compressor. And it was a nine pin compressor. And it's just, I couldn't remember how the stator worked and how it was connected. And one of Mohammed that was in the program, he was like, well, Trevor, which ones do I do to check my resistance? And I'm like, I just don't remember. Is it 1 to 7? Is it 1 to 2? I wasn't sure, so I'll look it up. And Lewis said, hey, Trevor, what it is, it's 1 to 2. And then, because I even had the wiring, the internal wiring of the compressor was right there, but I was drawing it wrong. And Lewis just stepped up and he said, this is how it's done. And I'm like, that is exactly how it's done. So thank you. So I'm learning as well, because it has that the power of working together is so, so important in our industry, uplifting our industry. And I know, Andrew, you're always wanting to give back. Doesn't matter if it's younger technicians, older technicians, but this really matters to you. And what are some of the things that you do now that really move the mark in mentorship?
Putting myself out there for one. That's saying, hey, I'm here for whoever, whatever you guys need, I'm here for you. And that I really just keep my phone on. I don't know if that's probably the best idea, but no, I just know that. And I really, what I do is I revert back to when I was the first getting into the field and the struggle that I was, and I didn't feel like I had that mentorship or that support that I guess what I would want. And not having that, through this trade, we're going to come across stuff that's going to pull your hair out if you have any, but it's just, you just get in these situations where it's just like, man, I need some help. And then when you do, they're either going to answer or not going to answer, or they just are cranky, it's just, so that kind of put the tone. Like when I get in this position where I'm able to mentor, I'm going to not do that. And that's really where it comes from, is from my past experience, going into this field. And now I just embrace it. I was like, yeah, you guys got questions? I want them. Bring them over. Let's talk about it. Let's get this done. No matter what, call me. I'm there for you. And that's kind of what I feel like my team, I guess, knows that about me. And then even still to this day, I'm still getting phone calls up in Washington about calls all the time. So it's just, and that to me, that's just, I feel like what comes around goes around, I guess, maybe. So I feel like I'm helping in any way I can. Like I said, even in the Refrigeration Hub network, I'm always on there trying to help people out, trying to train people. I think it's just important. That's just going to make we're just better together. And really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I love that. What about you, Eric? What are maybe some simple ways technicians can start mentoring, without a formal role? Because some people think it has to be like a full role to be a mentor, and that's not really the case. But what are maybe 1 or 2 tips that you could give a technician out there to kind of mentor some other ones? Because you don't have to be a journeyman to be a mentor. You know what I mean? Like,
no, no, you don't have to be, assigned by your company to be the trainer for the other guys. But still, there will always be, a couple of guys who will be more experienced in a certain way with certain products. And a good thing is maybe say, okay, I'm going out for this job on this store here with this whatever system. What about you, Andrew? you want to join me for that one, because I know there's some interesting stuff on here, and you've been talking about it. You want to learn about this CO2 system here. So come join me for that day. We talk to the boss guy, see if he's up with that, and we maybe spend maybe you will only be there, half the time or something, but you talk things around. You say, okay, now we're done. You go on with your job, and I carry on with whatever I'm doing. That's a great way to do that, I think. To just use each other, right? Because that's what we're for, actually.
Yeah. I love
so
that way too. I love that too. And this is what I talk about in a lot of the training programs. I tell them, like, we do want to get paid for all the work that we do, but these learning moments are way more than the $100 or the $200 that you're going to make. If you had an opportunity to go out with Andrew for that 2 hours, or Erik out for that 2 hours, you're going to learn more in that 2 hours time than you're going to change a fan motor or clean a condenser or solve a problem. You know what I mean? And that sticks with you. So be willing to take on that, and it doesn't hurt to ask. The boss can say no. We're too busy today, but there's always times in the year when it gets slower, where there's opportunity to do this. And maybe you're just doing it on your own time for that 2 hours before you go to your job. But you know what? That knowledge will reduce stress, make you a better technician. People will be like, holy smokes, like this I see it all the time in the program. I see technicians just fired up, and they're working harder, and they're solving harder problems than their more experienced counterparts, because they're putting the work in.
Yeah, because in my experience, what we really learn from working with somebody who knows what they're doing, and doing it with them.
Yeah.
And maybe letting them tell me how to do this, and then I do it. So it's my hands who are working, and he's just supervising me doing it. It's basically what we do when from my company, when we are asked to come out and assist with a new commissioning for a new customer, and go for a startup. I don't go out and do the startup. I teach the guys on site how to do the startup on their own system, because now it's their system. It's not my system anymore. So I teach them how to do this, what they're looking for, what is the procedures, and which step is the next, and what are you going to look for, all that stuff. Because of course I could start it up easily. We'd be done in half the day. But in the end, then I have to go and start the next system for them, and the next system is much better for them also to learn that, get those skills, and be able to start it up themselves. And that is much more empowering of you as a technician.
Yeah. And that's how we uplift the industry. That's how we get the industry better. That's how we get closer to the same knowledge level, is by sharing your knowledge, because we can't take this knowledge with us. Do you know what I mean? So it's how do we help the other people? And that's what I do constantly. It's like sharing as much knowledge and quality knowledge is going to help that person with their career, with their confidence, with their stress level, with their personal life. That's what it is. Like, as we do this, we do it to make money, but I do it is to help others. And that's why most of the people, that's why Erik does it. That's why Andrew does it. They go out there because they want to help the others. Erik's out there helping the technicians on the startup. Andrew's out there helping the apprentices learn along the tracks, and other journeymen to just really uplift each other in the industry. Like, I really enjoy this conversation. Any final thoughts, Andrew?
Yeah, so if you are able to go with myself or Erik or whatever, bring a notepad and don't be afraid to ask questions. That's one thing that I tell the apprentices is that are riding with or going from job site, whatever we're doing. That's the first thing I make it clear. Bring a notepad, because I want you to write stuff down, and don't be afraid to ask questions. And then as I'm there doing whatever the service call may be, I'm going to ask them questions if they know. If they're quiet, I'm pushing them, right? So I'm going to ask them, what is this valve and how does it work, right? It could be just as simple as a liquid line solenoid valve, depending on their skill level, right? So it's just don't be afraid to ask questions, especially if someone's telling you, give me the questions, right? So that's what I'm doing currently, as I'm teaching an apprentice right now that we just got, and yeah, he's soaking it up. I'm loving it too. So yeah, and he's learning a lot. So then that's really what's important.
I love it. Erik, what about you? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask your peers. Don't be afraid to ask your manufacturers. Even if you know the rack I'm on at the moment is not made by the manufacturer you want to call, but you know that guy knows something about it. Don't be afraid to call him. I have people calling me all the time from the way we get starting. Oh, I have this problem with blah blah blah, and that doesn't sound like our system. No, it's not. It's a whatever system. And okay, no worries. Talk to me. What's going on? We can help you get going. I say, okay, now it's something special for that system. You have to call your manufacturer, but don't be afraid to call people.
Yeah. And I love that stuff. Both of those are real good because it's so important to work together. This is an industry where we're helping each other. And that's what we do at Refrigeration Mentor. That's what the hub's all about. Andrew's an ambassador there. Like I said, Erik's in the community. Come in, ask the questions. And we're seeing more and more people investing in themselves and people putting up pictures and videos, just like, because it's important for us to help each other because there is a lot to know. You know what I mean? Like Erik's been doing CO2 for 12, 15 years, even longer, and he's still learning. You know what I mean? With the new designs that are coming out, and then he's trying to share this knowledge. It doesn't happen overnight, but the more you invest in yourself, the more you're going to learn, and sharing that knowledge. I think that's why you guys are so good, is because you train other people, and then you learn, oh, I didn't say that the right way. I don't think here. Let me rephrase that. So it makes more sense, because sometimes we talk advanced. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, I do it all the time. I'm going to train. I'm like, oh, okay, let me step back and reframe. And the people are like, oh, that makes way more sense now, so sometimes you have to say enough. You do. I love this conversation. Really appreciate everyone taking the time to come hang out at the Refrigeration Mentor podcast, and all of you in the community, sharing, chatting, growing. If you enjoy this, always like it. And if you can be that mentor to someone, or even have a conversation with someone in the industry to help them out, make them feel a bit more confident, reduce maybe their stress level, or give them a little bit more confidence to go out and try that, get outside their comfort zone to solve those little harder problems than just the day-to-day, because we can get stuck into day-to-day and months go by and it's like, I don't feel like I grew in the last 3 months. But just give them that little nudge or that help that goes a long way. As always, head to refrigerationmentor.com if you want to learn more about what we got going on. Head to the community, refrigerationmentor.com/hub. Really appreciate all you listening today. Andrew, thank you so much. Erik, thank you so much. And we'll see you again at the Refrigeration Mentor podcast.
See you.
Thanks, guys, man. Really appreciate it. I got a question for you, Erik. I already asked Andrew. I'm jumping on a podcast with BAC right now for CO2 gas coolers. Is there any, for tech, like on startup, I'm going to learn about, setting it up. Is there any questions that would be good questions to ask them? Like a gas cooler manufacturer?
A gas cooler manufacturer for CO2 specific?
Yeah, specific for CO2.
Yeah, like we talked about on the last podcast, I think it was how do they prefer connecting it if you have a twin system or two-part system? How do you want to connect your sensors to that? How's the flow? What I said. Yeah, how's the flow going in? Because in my opinion, I've seen a lot of different ways to do this. I've seen either you come out, you have the two outlet pipes, and people directly drop them maybe a meter or so and connect them in a T-piece and go through the roof from that, or they connect them directly in the top with a T-piece and go back, and maybe only come in with the pipe coming in from one side, T-piece on the first loop, and then just connect to the end of the other loop. And how do they want? How's the most efficient?
Love it.
Design for this.
That's exactly the question Andrew asked. Okay, another one.
Yeah, I think that is one of the biggest issues on gas coolers.
Yeah, I got people in Australia. It's like it has to be down at the bottom where the two of them meet, and then like here in North America, there's lots of manufacturers say no, it got to be 6 inches on one side, the one that's running all the time, close to it. So that's a great That's a great.
We always recommend when you have from if you have a single loop, 20 centimeters, 10 inches for Andrew.
I know I'm different. That's funny.
10 inches from the TP, so whatever, or from whatever connection or bend or anything on a horizontal plane. Yeah. So if you're starting going down, that is not a good thing, because in the experience, then you have the oil film is moving on the outside of the pipe, and your gas liquid mix is not really touching the pipe, because you got the oil film connected to attached to the pipe inner wall. So you never on a vertical piece, always on a horizontal piece.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'll ask these because I've done posts about this before, and you see people like, that's not the way to do it. That's the way to do it. No, that's the way to do it. And it's just like, love it. Okay, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No worries. See you around.
See you guys.